Thank you for this brief time to share with you today. My name is Terrence Hassanelli. I worship at St. Luke Church in Goodhue. My wife, Regina, is the pastor of that church. And I trust this year's Synod Assembly has been and will continue to be a fruitful time of reconnection, renewal, and vision fueling for all of you and for your congregations. It's really enriching for me and inspiring to be here with you. Today, as you'll see in my first slide, I'm here to talk to you about leading together. Rostered leaders would have learned about this initiative last fall at the Theological Conference, and some of you have already given to this initiative. And so I want to start by saying thank you to those who've already given. Tremendous gifts that you have made already. As Bishop Delzer said this morning, leading together is one way the church can be church together for the good of the world. Before I delve into the details of this, of leading together, though, I wanted to tell you why I became involved with this initiative. Really, as the child of a pastor and now the spouse of a pastor, I've had the blessing of seeing the church, the bride of Christ, up close in action for my whole life. And I've seen that when the local church is working like it ought to, there's no place like it. Leading together is one such way to see the church working like it ought. I want to tell you a little bit about how this came to be. So I'll switch back to that chart in a minute. In early 2015, late 2014, there was a visioning and feedback process, and then the feasibility study done in early 2015. And out of that visioning process, through rostered leaders, through lay leaders, 3 priority areas surfaced, and Bishop Delzer talked about these this morning, the 3 Synod priorities: developing leaders, equipping and supporting congregations, and accompanying global partners. What we've seen so far to date is, and we heard a little bit this morning, leading every day as disciples, and stewardship for all seasons has started to go on in some of our congregations. And this annual fund, Leading Together, is the next step of this whole process. Leading Together is really it has 4 components, 4 priorities: South Sudan, leadership development, Tanzania, and mission partners. And altogether, that comes to $215,000 that we want to have raised from Synod churches, from rostered leaders and congregations by January 2017, the end of January. I'll tell you a little bit about them, break them down for you. South Sudan, obviously the biggest portion, $110,000, and the South Sudanese Synod has become a focal point for South Sudanese ministry, with 4 South Sudanese and Ethiopian worshiping churches and communities among us. And through these relationships, we are committed to the people of South Sudan through the ministry of Pastor Wal Reet. He's formerly at Faribault, and he serves as an ELCA missionary now in South Sudan. We also have commitments to be a major part of supporting the construction of the Lutheran Center in Juba, the capital of South Sudan. And the center will serve as a place for worship, healthcare, and education. Second is leadership support within our synod. And this was one of the areas that was really emphasized from the feedback in 2015. And this $50,000 will support efforts to equip congregations, develop leaders within the synod. 3 specific ways this is happening. We touched on it earlier. Through Stewardship for All Seasons, there's 16 congregations working with a consultant in a year-long donor recruitment process. and through living every day as disciples with 6 congregations, working with coaches to deeply learn about themselves and seek God's future through Synod-sponsored retreats. The third point is Tanzania, $35,000 for the Tanzanian work. We have a long history. We've heard throughout today, we have a long relationship with the Central Diocese of the ELCA in Tanzania. And new dollars coming in on top of longstanding commitments will allow for the diocese to advance education and healthcare initiatives in Tanzania. And then finally, $20,000 for mission partners locally. I was talking with a member of Synod Council earlier, and he said, since the 80s, we've seen a steady decline in giving to the Synod. And so those budget constraints have limited our ability to support mission partners like Lutheran Advocacy, Lutheran Campus Ministries, Luther Seminary, Minnesota Council of Churches. And we haven't been able to support them at the level we historically have and to the levels we would like to. And so the funds coming in for mission partners will allow us to walk together with those sharing God's word in the world locally. So that's the breakdown of the 3 initiatives. How can you help? Well, there are a number of challenges in place right now. In the world of fundraising, a way to make your dollars go further is to have matching challenges. And so I encourage you to give today or tomorrow at Synod Assembly, and I'll tell you why. 2 of the 3 challenges in place right now, one is a rostered leader challenge and one is a Synod Assembly challenge. Some retired pastors have launched the rostered leader challenge, and there's about $8,000 in matching funds if we get 75% of rostered clergy to participate in this annual fund initiative. You can designate your money to any of the 4 categories, or you can leave it undesignated to go to the area of greatest need. But I would encourage you to give there. And another way, if you are a rostered leader and you give at Synod Assembly, you get to essentially triple the impact of your funds by participating also in the Synod Assembly Challenge. Grace Church in Wasika has given some dollars, about $13,000, to match funds given at Synod Assembly. Already today, we've had over $1,000 in contributions, which is great. It's a good start, but there's $12,000 up for grabs, so let's get it while we're here. The third challenge is the Global Mission Table Challenge, and there's just over $10,000 for new dollars coming in until the end of June to receive that full $10,600 match. So in closing, I want to encourage you to participate, and you can do that in any number of ways. Do it here at Synod Assembly. I'll be at the table outside, and you could give online. You can write a check. You can pay with a credit card as well. And so do that, participate. And in closing, I want to say thank you for your time and generosity, and be sure to make those contributions today and tomorrow.